Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I know I am. I'm here at Click Lewis right outside of Hershey, and I'm with this guy right here. We're gonna play with these cars here and see what happens. All right, guys, so we are here again with the 2020 Supra and also a 2019 Grand Sport. Now, we're gonna actually compare these, me and Mike from Street Speed, you guys know him, but we're gonna go over all the details here, and at the end, we're gonna kind of pit these two together and see which one is better on the street. As you guys know from my video review, I'll link that up here if you haven't seen it yet, but the 2020 Supra is actually pretty cool. In person, it is a fantastic car, but you know, my heart kind of lies with the Corvettes here. So in this case, we are at Click Lewis, like I said. He has two Grand Sports at least on the showroom floor, brand new, that are $60,000. Now, the Supra is right around 60 as well. So these are very similar priced cars, and they have about the same kind of quality and similar performance. We're gonna really test out all of it. Mike came up with the scoring system. It's gonna be a 1 through 10 on exterior styling. So, Mike, tell me how you feel about the Supra styling.
Okay, so the Supra, definitely better in person, like we both agree. It looks pretty good. It's not a bad looking car. The headlights are really cool. It looks sporty. It's a little bit different than anything else going down the road. It's got that long front end, short back, nice hips to it, good curves. Not a fan of the fake vents, like I talked about in my upload as well. We're talking about the same thing here. We both don't like the vents. Fake vents here, up front, big one on the side there. Really not a fan of that at all. That's like huge. You know, but it is a good looking car. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
My personal rating is also going to be a 7 for a lot of the same reasons. So the fake vents, it's not as wide as you would expect a performance style car to be. And like we kind of said in his upload, it's almost like the Supra doesn't know exactly what it wants to be yet. It's still a kid, it's growing up, it's not sure if it wants to be a cop or a cowboy, but
I like it.
In this case, it's a great car, but this one edges it out just a hair. So I'm gonna give this a 7 as well. Me and Mike are in agreement there. Now, Mike, tell us what you feel about the Grand Sport.
So like you just touched on, I think the big thing, and you summed it up really well, the Corvette knows exactly what it wants to be, an aggressive sports car. The Supra is a little bit like, it looks cool, but it's a little laid back. It's not like super, and I get it, that's kind of how the Mark IV Supra was. But the Grand Sport, you look at it right away. It's angry. You know, if the lights are the eyes, it's an angry car. It's very much, you know, right away, like that is a sports car. No fake vents. It's really low, really wide. It's really pretty much perfect in styling. It's very good. There are a few things that keep it from getting a 10, but I think an 8's a solid score for the Grand Sport.
All right, guys, so again, we're in agreement here. I'm gonna say an 8 for the Corvette as well, and for very similar reasons again. Right off the bat, this is a wider, lower car, no fake vents like Mike said, and that's a fantastic thing in my opinion. We have all functional aero and functional vents on the car. Basically, this looks the part.
Is that Cars Guys?
That's Cars Guys.
Oh my God, there he is. What the hell happened to your Corvette?
Oh man, I figured you guys wouldn't be ready for 3.5 liters of Japanese
I'm not ready for it at all.
All right, guys, so next is going to be interior quality of the Supra first. We're going to get Mike's opinion before I give you mine.
So I felt like it was good, but I felt like it was Toyota. I just also felt like it was for a $30,000 to $40,000 car. I actually have a 2019 Toyota to compare it to, my girlfriend's CHR, and it's very similar to that in overall like button feel and like just I feel like it's from the same factory. So I think this is like a $40,000 car all day long. It's just not 60K, so I gave it a 5 out of 10.
It's a little rough, but ultimately mine's not much better. So you guys know I did the review of the Supra. Like I said, I'll link it up at the top right if you guys want to check it out. But I was okay with the interior here. I thought the quality was decent, but I didn't really care for the layout. Mike gives it a 5. I'm going to give it a 6. Biggest reason, I don't care for the quality of the leather. So on the Corvettes with the 3LT, you get Napa leather. On the Supra, it looks more like the Mulan leather.
I didn't even pay attention to the leather, but I agree with you. I think when you mention it, the leather does feel better in the Corvette. The Corvette feels very much like a $50,000 to $60,000 car. It's still not great, and I made the comment that for us as guys with a $130,000, $40,000 Corvette, we could say that our interiors are not great for $140,000. They're good, but $140,000 you might want a little bit more. For $50,000 to $60K, great interior. So I think I gave it a 7. Yeah, 7.
Obviously, me and Mike both have Corvettes, so probably a little bit biased here. But ultimately, what I'm going to say is the Corvette interior, just like Mike said, it's very fitting of a $50,000 to $60,000 car. This particular Grand Sport from Click Lewis here, they actually have it at 65. He also has some Grand Sports in there that are 60, brand new. So, like I said, the comparison's very fair, but the interior of the Corvette is much more fitting of the $50,000 to $60,000 range because we get like things like a flat bottom steering wheel, a lot of Alcantara or suede, and a much higher quality leather seat. Now, there are some cheap bits in the interior like the cup holders and the console lid's kind of plasticky, but ultimately this is laid out much more like a $60,000 car, where Toyota seems more like your average BMW daily driver. So we got a 6 for me on the interior of the Supra, 7 for the interior on the Corvette. Mike says 5 for the Supra and 7 for the Vette. The next one is going to be the interior layout. So Mike, tell us what you think.
I think it's really good. I like how it's angled towards you. I actually feel like I'm going to like this better than the C8 because the C8 is so cut off from the passenger that the passenger can hardly reach over here and do anything. So I really like the layout. Everything's where you'd want it to be. It's got a really good mix of traditional button controls and also screen controls. The passenger has their own climate control, so I give it a 9 for layout. I can't give it a 10 because like I can't say perfect, but there's nothing in here that I would change, so I feel like I got to give it a 9.
All right, guys, so straight from the guy who owns a $350,000 McLaren, he's given the Corvette layout a 9. My impressions are going to be very similar to what he said. The way that the interior is set up in general is very good. And this is obviously separate from materials, so don't get it mixed up. I'm talking specifically layout. The way that Corvette kind of sections off the driver from the passenger, but still allows enough of a mixture that it's not a huge problem like it could possibly be in the C8. I think I would give it a solid 8. Next, we're doing the Supra. So Mike's already in there. Let's ask him what his opinion is.
So right away, I like the traditional buttons with the screen. The screen is very responsive. It's a little high. I do kind of like the Corvette one better, but this is good. Wheel and button layout is good. The one thing I definitely don't like, this wall here is right in your way. If I'm on the gas pedal, my leg is against this wall the whole time. Not awful, but not good either. The big thing though, is the cup holders. Right away you notice if you're trying to drive and like you're gonna rest your arm on this thing, and even if you're on the very edge, your elbow is still gonna be hitting that back cup holder. So that's a really terrible design, to be quite honest. And you feel like you're blocked off from your own area. It's like you said, this should be on the opposite side. So I gave the interior a 6. And and I know your score is ruthless.
All right, guys, so he gives it a 6. A lot of the same points, of course. We're both car guys. We're gonna make very similar points here, but I am gonna be a little more ruthless with my scoring because I spent some time with this car the other day doing my review. The cup holders were terrible.
And you're a bigger guy too. It's probably worse for you, that wall,
yeah,
and the cup holders and everything. Like, you know, I'm kind of short, I'm not too big.
That's a very good point because when I was in this car, Scott and I from Team 512 actually compared these two. And as soon as I went back to the Corvette, believe it or not, I actually felt like there was more space in the Vette, like a lot more. It's really cramped in here for the driver, especially because of this weird wall. That should be on the passenger side, if anything. Now, also, like I said, the cup holders are terrible, but my big complaint with the interior is just the way the dash is just square and it's there. Like no curvature, no updated styling or anything. You're getting a $60,000 car that has kind of a boring interior. Now also this stuck on center screen, which I get why they did that. It keeps it in your center of sight while you're driving, but it looks terrible. And like Mike said, it does respond a little faster, so it's more updated as far as the electronics go, but it's like impossible to navigate the iDrive system. So because of that, I'm giving it a 3.
That's rough, but I agree. I can't, everything you said is true, so I can see why you're giving it a 3.
3, guys. I do like the Supra, I really do. I know it's not coming across that way, but it's a great car. I'm just trying to be as real as I can for a $60,000 price tag. Some of this stuff just doesn't make sense. So the next bit on our list here is gonna be the sound systems for both of these cars. You guys know I'm obviously very familiar with the Bose system in the Corvette, but me and Mike actually just tested this stuff out. And the Supra was just as loud, maybe a hair clearer than the Corvette, but the thing that was really really impressive is the fact that when we closed the doors, and Mike obviously had his iPhone turned up to the max and cranked the radio, there was no buzzing, no rattling whatsoever on the outside of this interior. The Corvette did have some buzzing and some rattling, which is not great, but this car has a lot more sound deadening for sure. The part that really was unimpressive for me is how complicated the iDrive system is. It makes things like connecting your cell phone 26 steps long, where on the Corvette it's 3. Because of the sound deadening on the Supra, but it's not so easy to use in-dash entertainment system. The Corvette had a little more buzzing, but the in-dash entertainment system is much more easy to use. He gives them both an 8. I gave them both a 7. And the next category is going to be daily drivability. So we're going to compare mostly cargo space, what we can store in the cars, and how useful they are on a daily basis. So number 1, we got street speed in the C7
That's
Corvette.
right. So the C7 was very easy to get in. It's essentially a New York City apartment in here. It's great. You know, you can pretty much relax. The only thing is it doesn't have the child safety thing though. The Supra did. Now, I did get in the Supra. I'm not gonna get in there again. It was really uncomfortable. I did fit, but it was very, very cramped. It was very cramped. And here, honestly, Corvettes, you have a lot of space. I don't think any 2-seater sports car has more storage than a Corvette, really.
That's definitely one of the selling points of any Corvette. As you guys can see up here, there is no child safety latch thing. So if Mike was abducted and we closed this hatch, he would have to go through the front and fight off. He'd have to fight off his abductors.
Yeah, that's risky. You don't know who's up there.
Yeah.
Supra, I can just jump out the back.
Yeah.
So you got 3 golf bags or 1 street speed?
I don't know, man. You could probably fit at least 1 more golf bag in there with them.
I think you could fit, yeah. I think you'd have no problem.
That seems to be the measurable thing, golf bags.
Well, for Corvette audience, absolutely. You got to be able to fit the golf bag in there.
Oh, look at that.
All right, so Mike, what do you give them?
I'm gonna go 6 and 6 on them both.
Okay, so 6 and 6. I'm probably gonna actually say 7 and 6. And I'll tell you why. Number 1, this car has way more storage, way more space in the back, more space in the center console. We got the screen that rolls down and a fairly large glove box. We get a good bit of storage space on the Corvette. Not so much with the Supra. As you can see, I touched on this in my review video as well, but the opening back here is just not very big. The cargo space is decent, but this part here, if it was cut out more, I'd be more likely to give it a better score. Also, the cup holder thing in here, there is no center console. There's no way to open this to have any extra storage there. The glove box is kind of tight. That's pretty much it for me. Now, as far as the drivability is concerned, you guys are probably asking about the tires and all this other stuff, but they use the same tires. Michelin Super Sports. Neither one of these cars are going to be built for the winter. They are sports cars, so they're never going to be the ultimate daily driver, but with the cargo space talked about, that's really going to be the biggest factor here. So, the next category is going to be overall value. Now, Mike actually gave me this particular category and I thought, oh, that's an easy. That's gonna go to the vet. But then he brought up one word.
Big one, depreciation.
Depreciation. So with depreciation factored in, what do you think about these?
Because that's part of the cost. A lot of people don't think about it. That is your cost to own that car. If you lose 10 grand in a year, that's broken up into every month. You have to factor that in. So the Corvette, as we know, the second you buy it, you lost 10 grand right there. I mean, they're great deals right now, but there's thousands and thousands of them for sale. You're gonna lose money. The Supra is maintaining its value. I mean, they're pretty rare right now. It shouldn't lose anything, and for that reason, and that reason alone, I had to give the Supra an 8, and I gave the Corvette a 7. I think that's a huge factor right now.
It absolutely is, guys, and honestly, like I said, I would absolutely give the W to the Vet if it was just based on what you pay for the cars and what you get, because the Corvette gives you a lot more performance-oriented setup than the Toyota Supra does, and mostly because of the things we talked about earlier with like the functional vents, the wider car, the more functional aero, and in this case, even higher horsepower, at least on paper. With that said, when we start adding in depreciation, all of a sudden my pick swings over to the Supra, because Toyotas typically hold their value better, but for right now, and that's what we're doing right now, this car has lost almost no value because it's so new. Right now it's hard to say for certain what the future holds for these cars, but we know for a fact the C7's done, the 19 is the last year for it. Depreciation is going to be pretty big for these.
Keep on coming too with the C8 when the C8 comes out, so.
Yeah, once the C8 hits, it's probably going to push these down even further. This one's not going to feel huge depreciation for at least a year, I'd say, maybe more.
Yeah.
Because of that, I give the Supra a 7, and the Vet a 6. Next category is going to be exhaust sound. So we got them lined up here. We're setting up the cameras now. We kind of feel like we know what the winner's going to be. I mean, this is a great sounding 6-cylinder, but at the same time, this is going to have way more volume and stuff. But we're going to do it for the vlog. We're going to do it for the vlog.
Do it for the vlog.
Dude, that's... That sounds so freaking good for a 6-cylinder.
Actually, now I'm not so sure.
That is unbelievable.
Popcorn like
I know. Honestly, now I'm not so sure.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. See, we can only rev to 4 in the Corvette.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can only rev to 4 in the Corvette.
Yeah, not bad.
This is an unfair comparison. I did not realize that was going to be a problem.
Yeah, the auto vets you can only rev them to 4,000.
No, the manual too.
Really?
Whenever you made that video, I was like, you should have got a manual, man. That's the reason right there. And then I would go out and test it in my car. I could only go to 4.
Does it to yours?
Yep, only to 4.
Well, I guess because mine's tuned, it doesn't do that anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, I haven't had that problem in a while. But so for the Corvette, that is true. You can only rev to 4,000.
See, I would have said, based on what I know that car sounds like, I give the win to that. On what we just did here, because I can only go to 4K on that, I think the Supra takes it. I'm gonna give it to the
so like
Supra.
unfair to judge it based on that.
Yeah, I know.
But that's how they made it.
These tests have very specific guidelines. Okay, we were very technical with all this stuff.
were.
If we can only rev it to 4, then we can only rev it to 4. I mean, that's...
Didn't sound bad, but
No, absolutely not. The Vet never sounds bad, but that Supra sounded freaking amazing when you were...
That at full chat is tough. You can't beat it, but the Supra, I don't. That's it is killing me inside to think about giving the Supra a better.
I know.
Like that, when that thing's on the street.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, it sounds so good. So I'll give the Supra an 8. I'll give the Vet a 7.
Okay.
The Toyota just beat the Corvette in a sound comparison. Well, now I have to go kill myself. So I can't put that in.
The internet is literally going to explode, guys. The Supra beats the C7 Corvette on exhaust. Now, like I said, guys, it's an odd comparison here because of the way Chevy limits the revs to 4K. And this one, I mean, Mike was just able to redline it, so it was popping left and right. It sounded great. Now, I know what the Vet sounds like on the street. It sounds freaking awesome. So in this technical scientific test, I'm going to give it to the Supra as well. In this situation, I'm going to take it a step further. I'm giving the Supra a 9.
Woo!
And the Vet is still getting a 7.
Wow.
So guys, like I said, I do like the Supra. The Supra is a great car, but obviously the Vet holds a special place in my heart. So it is going to be a little biased regardless, but in this case, comparing these two cars, of which neither I own, the Supra sounded better. It's that simple.
Yeah.
All right, guys, and lastly, we're gonna take these cars out and see which one wins on the street. That's what really freaking matters, right?
Pretty much.
So both of them are automatics. So let's see which one does better on the street.
Let's see.
Every time I jumped on that one and he still caught me. All right, guys, so we just finished up the first pool in Mexico, and surprisingly enough, the Supra lost by a decent amount.
For driving wise and speed wise, for the price, it's good. It's got to be up there. Like, it's got to be an 8 or 9 because what else can you buy?
Yeah, for
Case
that
in point,
price.
That's the same price and it's slower.
Yep.
I think the only category that car wins in is the trans.
Yeah.
I'll give the trans that all day long. I hate the trans in these, the 8 speeds. But then again, this car offers a manual.
Yep.
If you really want the ultimate fun factor, you can still get a manual. You can't even get the manual in that car. So
there's so many points for the Corvette that you're
really
making
hard.
like just right without even trying.
I know. I feel like I'm trying to. I really genuinely for this video, I'm trying to give the Supra everything I can.
Yeah.
And the Vet still just brings a lot to the table.
So what would you say out of 10 for the Supra?
I would give the Supra an 8. It's a really good driving car. I'd give the Vet a 9 though. In
A 9.
categories, yeah.
A 9, guys.
Yeah.
That's not biased at all.
No.
I mean, if we're talking strictly price especially, I'm going to give that a 7 and the Vet an 8. Because I honestly, as pathetic as this is going to sound for you guys, I thought that car was going to edge out the Vet. And the only reason is because of how fast that transmission shifts and the fact that they're putting to the ground pretty close to the same amount of horsepower. And the final tallies, guys, the Supra comes in at 108. So this is going to be street speeds and my opinion numbers added together. 108 for the Supra, 119 for the Corvette. I know what a lot of you guys are out there thinking, oh, you guys are Corvette guys, so of course, but we did our best to be as objective on this whole thing as possible. With that said, the Corvette is the better car for the price. Now, this car initially, MSRP is at 85.
Yeah.
If we factor that in, we are talking about a totally different game at that point. If this car is 85 and that one's still 60, this one's going to come ahead because of the value. With this car also being around the $60,000 mark, it's a no-brainer. That's going to really pretty much do it for the comparison here, guys. So let me know down below, what do you think of the Toyota Supra versus the Grand Sport? Which one would you buy for $60,000? Now, guys, I want to thank Mike being part of my vlog. And of course I was on his too, if you guys want to check him out.
Absolutely.
If you've ever heard of his channel, it's Street Speed 717. I'll put it down in the description below. No, seriously, he doesn't need an introduction. Everybody knows him.
I don't need any subs. Just sub to him. Well, they're watching your video. They're already subbed to you.
That's true.
So
well, hopefully.
No good. But yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, guys, it's been great. He's a great guy. I've had him on the vlog a couple times, but it's always fun. We make these quick trips to Mexico, and it's always a blast.
Absolutely.
If you guys liked what you saw, give me a big thumbs up. If you have any questions about what you saw here today, shoot them in the comment section down below or ask him.
There you go.
He's a pretty knowledgeable guy too. Anyway, guys, I'll catch you in the next upload.